Hey there, my name is Becky. This is Bria Makes Art. Welcome back. If you've been here before, welcome if you've never seen my stuff before. Today I'm going to be doing a gouache painting. You can see the painting on the left there. I'm just sketching out roughly where some things go. I'm using a watercolor pencil because that will just disintegrate with the gouache. But today, while you watch me paint, I thought it might be interesting to just do a little introduction and talk to you a little bit about who I am and why I'm making this channel and all those sorts of things. To start off, we'll go over some of the basics like my age and that sort of thing. I'm in my mid-40s. I was born in Michigan, still live in Michigan. I have a large number of siblings, and I've been doing art most of my life. I took a lot of art in high school. I took 3 years of art in high school. I didn't take it 4 years because I was going to go to college and was told, hey, there's these classes that you should take that are part of kind of the college path. So I didn't have time in my senior year to take art, but I enjoyed it every year that I took it. After I graduated from college, after I went to college, I didn't really do art a whole lot. I just kind of put it aside for studies and that sort of thing. And then after I graduated, I didn't do it a whole lot for quite a while. I still had a lot of art supplies. I still occasionally picked it up and was like, hey, this is something I like to do. Let me try it again. And I would do it for a little while and then put it aside again. I had lots of different crafty hobbies over the years. So some of those took place of me doing art. And then around 2020, during the pandemic, I decided to pick art back up and actually try to improve my skills. So I started watching a lot of art YouTube, things like Drawing with Waffles, which I absolutely love, Jazza, Mira Byler, etc. I watched those and really enjoyed those. And after watching those for a few years, I decided it might be interesting for me to do my own YouTube channel. When I told my husband and son about this, they asked me why I wanted to make a YouTube channel, and I didn't really have a good answer for them at the time, but I think I have a better answer now. I wanted to do a YouTube channel for a number of reasons. Number one, like I said, I had watched a bunch of different art YouTubers talk about the community that they had with their channel, and I wanted a little bit of that for myself. I knew that I could join Discords that different channels had available, and I did, and I have joined some of those. But as an introvert, I always just felt a little bit awkward going on there and just kind of joining into conversations with people who had been on there for a while. I just felt like I was butting in and that I really didn't belong there. The other things that I wanted to achieve with this YouTube channel is I kind of wanted to show people that even if you're not a professional artist, that you can continue to do art and have fun and make some pretty things. You don't have to necessarily do this for a living. I don't do art for a living. I think I've said that in a couple of my videos. I am a software engineer, but I do enjoy doing art on the side. I don't know that I will ever sell any of my art. Perhaps sometime in the future I will. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but I just enjoy doing it, and I thought it would be kind of cool to show people what I've been working on and show the progress that I've made since I started focusing on my art again. I have seen a lot of growth in my ability since then, and it's actually kind of surprising at how much better I am now than I was just a few years ago, and I just wanted to share that with people. Okay, I'm going to interrupt myself here really quick because this is the part of the painting where I am really happy with where things are, and the next part is a part that is a little bit trickier for me, and that's the water. I love how the sky is looking. The gradient looks great. The clouds look really nice, and the forest line here looks really good. But I need to put the water in next, and that's a thing that I've struggled with in the past. I've always managed to make it look okay, but not quite the way it looks in my head. So that's the next piece. So I don't really want to continue. I want to leave it like it is so I don't ruin it. But I know that if I don't continue, then I'm never going to grow. So I'm just going to go ahead and push myself and try the water out and know that if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I have done this, and that's what's going to allow me to grow. So wish me luck. All right, enough about the painting. Let's talk about me. That's the important thing here. Now, really, I'm not that type of person. I'm not the type of person that likes to talk about myself, but that's what this video is, so let's get back to it. Another reason that I decided to make a YouTube channel was so that I would do more work outside of my sketchbook. I have, since I started back doing art since the pandemic, I've done a lot of sketchbook work, and I enjoy working in my sketchbook, but I wanted to make things outside of sketchbooks. So I figured that if I did a YouTube channel, that would force me to work outside of my sketchbook and do some other things that I could hang up around the house or whatever. And it has, and it's been great. So in addition to working outside of my sketchbook, I wanted to use up some art supplies that I've had around for quite a while. Things like watercolors, things like this gouache, I've got some inks, etc. that I didn't really break out to work on my sketchbook. So I thought that having a YouTube channel would force me to use those, and again, it has. And I've been really enjoying being able to play with a bunch of different techniques and different materials and things like that, and share it with people on YouTube. I don't get a lot of views, but that's okay. I don't expect this channel to be like the next big art channel, or for me to make millions of dollars, or for me to be able to quit my job or anything like that. If that happens, awesome. If it doesn't, that's fine too. I will continue to do these videos as long as I'm having fun. And at the moment, I'm having a lot of fun. Alright, enough about the YouTube channel and why I made it. Let's talk a little bit more about things about me. Let's see, I already said that I'm in my mid-40s. I am married. I have one child. He's a boy. My pronouns are she, her. Let's see, I love board games and role-playing games and things like that. I am an avid gamer. I have been since college. Let's see, what else? As I said, I've done a bunch of different crafts over the years. I've got a fair amount of scrapbook supplies. I did card making for a while. I've done a little bit of sewing and things like that. I've done crochet when I was younger. I tried knitting. I'm not very good at it. I think I just need more practice, but it wasn't really my thing. I'm a martial artist. I think I've talked about that a little bit with my tattoo. I am a 3rd degree black belt at the moment, working toward my 4th. Oh, I see my cat there. She is a black cat. We got her from the Humane Society. Her name is Moxie Crime Fighter. We've had her for probably about 14 years now, so she's getting up there. She was maybe a year old at most when we got her. She loves me and likes my son, but that's about all the people that she actually likes. She'll pretend like she likes you. If you come to my house, she'll come over and rub up against you, but she doesn't really want you to pet her. She just wants to rub up against you and say hi. Let's see, what else? I'm a gardener. I've got a big garden. The garden started off kind of as my garden and has become more of my husband's garden. He does a lot of the work out there. I definitely do go out and do some work, but he is definitely the person who takes care of it a lot more. We've been working on trying to actually use the stuff out of our garden instead of just growing stuff and then putting it in the compost bin. And that's a little bit hard just because we're not quite sure how to use all of the vegetables and, cook them up and things. So we've been working on that. I'm a reader. I've read more in the past, but I'm getting back into reading again. For a little while, I was doing this thing where I was challenging myself to read more books every year, and it ended up kind of burning me out because I was just trying really hard to beat my previous record, and I ended up stopping reading a whole lot for a couple of years just because that was too much for me, and it ended up being not fun. So now I'm getting back into it and just reading for fun and not really keeping track of how many books I've read because I found out that doesn't really work well for me. I like to read a lot of fantasy novels. I like to read science stuff as well, and I like to read stuff that is related to my job as a software engineer. I consume a lot of YouTube, as a lot of people do. A lot of it is art YouTube, but there is a fair share of science YouTube in there as well because I just really enjoy learning about different things in the world, and that's a lot of fun for me. Um, I would consider myself an introvert because things like parties and concerts, etc., those drain me quite a bit. But when I'm at places where I am comfortable with the people that I'm around, I am much more an extrovert. So when I told people at work that I'm an introvert, they didn't believe me because at work I know the people and I feel comfortable with them. And so I am much more extroverted and very opinionated, and I will share my opinions with people without hesitation. So, types of foods that I like a lot of different foods and a lot of different cuisines. I absolutely hate split pea soup. I do not like Brussels sprouts nor lima beans. I also do not like coffee and beer, and I know that makes me kind of weird, but let me explain. I did this test a while ago, and there's this thing called super tasters, which basically just means that I have the right genes to be able to taste bitters really well. So I taste things like beer and coffee as extremely bitter, and I don't like the taste of bitter. So to me, those things are terrible, and I don't like them. I do, however, love the smell of coffee, just cannot stand the taste of brewed coffee. I do like the taste of coffee candies, though, because those don't have the bitterness to them. I think my go to drink is Pepsi, though I do like Coke every now and then, and I am not opposed to a Faygo sometimes. I grew up where we would buy pop, and whatever was cheapest, that's what we had in the house. So I grew up drinking a lot of different types of pops, but given my choice, I would pick Pepsi. I tell you what, talking about yourself for 20 minutes is really hard. I think I would write a absolutely terrible autobiography. It would go something like, yep, I was born, I went to school, I went to college, met my husband, got married, had kids, the end. Short and sweet. So I guess one thing that I haven't addressed yet, and people probably are wondering, is why in the world is my channel called Bria Makes Art, and I introduce myself as Becky. Bria is not exactly a nickname of mine, but it is part of my initials. So at work many years ago, when we would check code in, we would put our initials on the code, and had a rule of how the initials went, and my initials spelled out Brea, Brea. And so that kind of stuck, and that's just a thing that I sometimes use, and I thought Bria Makes Art sounded really nice. I created a Instagram account a few years ago under Bria Makes Art and thought it would be really nice to just continue that when I made my YouTube channel. So there it is. Like I said, Bria is not my nickname. It is not any part of my name other than it is part of my initials that happen to spell Bria. I think a common question that people ask artists are, what kinds of materials, what kinds of supplies do you like to use? And because I've worked a lot in my sketchbook, it's mostly just pencils. So I like to use just a standard mechanical pencil. I also have some colored mechanical pencils that I like to use, and I do that a lot in my sketchbook. Occasionally I go out and I'll grab some like Tombow watercolor markers, as well as some alcohol markers. I have dabbled with those. As you can see, obviously here, I like to use gouache. I have a separate sketchbook for that. This is a Canson XL watercolor sketchbook that I like to use. I was given this for Christmas last year, and so this has kind of become my gouache sketchbook. I know that using something like Canson, that's not 100% cotton, and so it's not the best paper for things like this, but it works perfectly fine for me to practice and just kind of get used to painting with gouache because gouache is very new to me. I've tried a lot of different art materials in the past because, like I said, I took art for 3 years in high school, and that art class was really nice in that we got chances to play with a lot of different things. I have done clay, I have done a little bit of photography, I've actually made a ring. I have done oils, I have done pastels, I've done chalk and oil pastels, acrylic, colored pencil, a lot of pencils, some collage. I've done some lino cutting. So a whole lot of different things that I was able to try out in high school during that art class. So that was a lot of fun. But it does mean that you won't see a whole lot of watch me try X for the first time, because I have tried a lot of these things in the past, though it was quite a few years ago. I did find that there are some materials that I absolutely do not like using, and those are things like charcoals and pastels, because I don't like the scratchiness. That really bothers me. I also don't like oil paint, simply because it takes so long for it to dry. So I do prefer things like gouache or acrylic because they dry a lot faster. I like the gouache a little bit more than the acrylic because I feel like I can control it a little bit better. I like the fact that you can reactivate the gouache after it's already been put down. So if I've messed something up, I can go back in and just go back over it again and reactivate those colors and move them around. So I really like that. I kind of like watercolor, but I want more control than watercolor really affords me. I know that you can get control with watercolor, but I also know that to a certain extent, control is kind of not what watercolor is about. Watercolor is about kind of letting go of that control, and I'm a little bit too much of a perfectionist and control freak to really like watercolor that much for that reason. I also found that I don't like things like oil pastels and things like that, simply because, again, I don't feel like I have the control with those because they're hard to sharpen and get a nice fine point on. I know that there are a lot of techniques out there that will allow you to get more control and do some really kind of precise work, but I don't really understand those or know those very well. I also don't like some of the oil pastels, chalks, etc., because they're really messy and I just don't really feel like cleaning up after it. I've, had a kid, I've done my fair share of cleaning up messes. I don't really feel like cleaning up messes after I've done artwork. That is one thing that actually prevents me from doing more artwork, is the setup and then the cleanup afterwards. I found that because I have a workshop that allows me to have things set up out there, it does allow me to do more artwork because I can easily just go out and pick stuff up and do it really quickly. The Himi gouache also makes it easier for me to just kind of pick it up and do it, because I don't have to get out all the paints and put it on the palette and blah, blah, blah. I can just open it up and go, which is really nice for me, because just the setup, thought of going out and setting everything up is a bit of a non-starter for me sometimes. I just want to do the thing. And I think that's why I work in my sketchbook a lot more than anywhere else, because I could just sit on the couch and work on my sketchbook and watch TV and not have to worry about a whole lot of setup. I just got some pencils that sit next to the couch with me right next to my sketchbook, and I don't have to do a whole lot. I don't know if that's necessarily laziness or if I have ADHD and that's a thing that's preventing me from doing it or what, but I know that that is a blocker for me. Okay, we're nearing the end of the video here and end of the painting, so in a moment we're gonna watch me peel off the tape, because I know for me and for lots of people that is the most satisfying part of the painting. So here we go. Okay, I'm having trouble finding the edge. There we go. And look at that nice crisp line. As you can see, the paper is warped a little bit, but I'm okay with that because this is just a sketchbook painting, just so that I can get used to painting some more. So, whatever it looks like, that's fine with me. But this washi tape peels off really nicely and stays down really nicely because I worked on this over a couple of days, so I didn't have any issues with it peeling off, so that was good. But it also peels off really smoothly and didn't tear the paper at all, and definitely protected the paper really well. Alright, we're down to the last piece, and this peels off beautifully, and then I'll show you a nice view of the final painting. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. Please think about subscribing, and I will see you all next week. Bye!